This is the story of Perseus. Perseus was born unto Zeus, king of the gods and a major player, and Danae a mere mortal. Before Perseus's birth, his grandfather Arcesius was warned that his grandson would one day kill him. So in hopes of keeping himself alive, he locked his daughter Danae away in a cave with bronze walls. Nowadays this is called abuse, but back in the day people just didn't care. Zeus, hearing how beautiful Danae was, set out to do the hanky-panky with her. Being a god, a measly cave with locked doors and ridiculously expensive wallpaper didn't stop him at all. Arcesius, now infuriated, sent the new mother and her child away in a small wooden chest. They landed on the island of Seriphos, a kingdom under the rule of King Polydeuces. They were helped by a simple but very caring farmer. Polydeuces eventually fell in love with Danae, but Perseus wouldn't have it. So to get Perseus out of the way, he decided to send him on a long quest. A quest to kill Medusa. Now we must know more about Medusa to better understand the severity of the task of killing her. She was once beautiful and lived in a northern land where the sun never shone. She begged Athena one day to send her southward so she could be in the sunlight, but Athena refused to. Athena didn't care for Medusa because she had tainted one of her temples. Medusa was very upset and she threw a hissy fit, and said that Athena didn't allow her to go southward because if she did, other people would see her beauty and not wish to even look at Athena. This rude comment caused Athena to get very mad, and she cursed Medusa so that her long curly locks turned into snakes, and that any person whose gaze directly met that of Medusa's, the person would instantaneously transform into stone. And now back to Perseus. Oh, oops, there's Perseus. He was unsure how to start his long journey. He did not know where to find Medusa, and he had no way of travel. So Perseus did what his mother always told him to do: pray to the gods. Perseus prayed to them, and they answered. They gave him the tools to complete his journey. Hermes gave him some of the most tricked-out kicks ever, a pair of winged shoes. Athena gave him her shield, a helmet from Hades that turned invisible, a sword from Hephaestus, and a bag to hold Medusa's head was also given to him. They also told him where to find Medusa. He was to go to the three witches who shared one eye and one tooth. So Perseus gathered his sweet gifts, put on his sick new shoes, and flew off to find the three witch sisters. He traveled and traveled till he reached the dark cave where the three witches lived. He donned the helmet and flew down to grab the three's shared eye. Cloaked in a film of invisibility, Perseus snatched the eye from the sisters and told them that if they ever wanted to see it again, to tell him where to find the creature Medusa. Reluctant to tell him, he continued to threaten to destroy their eye till they finally told him where to find her. Now, I don't know about you, but I think Perseus is a total straight-up G for grabbing the witch's nasty old eyeball. Perseus found Medusa and used the shiny shield to see because he knew he would turn to stone if he directly looked at Medusa. Using his helm of invisibility and the shield, he snuck around till he found her. She was sleeping. He then proceeded to remove his sword and decapitate her where she lay. He quickly put her head into the sack and flew off. Now, I probably should have mentioned that Medusa was one of three sisters. They were called Gorgons. The three sisters' names were Medusa, Cytheno, and Uriel. Medusa was the only one of them born immortal, and by far the most attractive. Now Perseus had Medusa's head in the bag, and as he flew away, Medusa's sisters awoke to find her dead and headless. Greatly angered, they pursued Perseus. Although they couldn't see him, they could smell the blood from their sister's severed head, and they followed it. They chased him, but they couldn't fly nearly as fast as Perseus, and he soon was far away from them and safely headed home. As Perseus flew back to the island of Seriphos, he saw a beautiful girl chained to a rock, and a sea monster, the Kraken, swimming towards her. Her name was Andromeda. She was chained there because of her mother's boasting about her daughter's beauty being far greater than that of a sea nymph. That just so happened to be the daughter of the god of the sea. Like many women in the old legends, they get extremely offended and usually curse the people who insulted them. So the sea nymph's papa sent the kraken to ravage the kingdom. Andromeda's father didn't like this, and he asked the gods how he could make it up so the kraken would go away. Their answer was to sacrifice their beloved daughter to the kraken. Dismayed, but they had no other choice, they chained Andromeda to a rock and waited for her to be consumed by the kraken. Luckily for Andromeda, Perseus arrived just in time and removed the head of Medusa and showed its face to that of the kraken, killing it. Andromeda's parents were so glad that he had killed the beast and saved their daughter that they offered her to be his wife. Perseus gladly accepted Andromeda, and they were married. Perseus set off with his new wife on a ship back to Seriphos, as his sweet footwear could only carry one. They stopped on their way back so Perseus could compete in the Olympics, and he proved himself talented. He was throwing a discus, and had thrown it farther than anyone had ever thrown it before. It landed in the crowd and killed an old man. That old man was none other than his grandfather, Arcesius. After hearing Perseus was returning to Argos, Arcesius fled his kingdom trying to save his own life, but was killed anyway. Dismayed that he had just killed the man that was his grandfather, Perseus sadly returned to Seriphos with Andromeda, and then he killed Polydeuces. The people were very happy that he had rid Polydeuces of the kingdom, and they begged Perseus to be their new king. Perseus was happy with their offer, and said he would, but only for a day. Perseus thought back to when he and his mother had first arrived, and they were helped by the kind farmer. Perseus saw that that man would make a decent king, and so the farmer became the new king. Perseus's father Zeus offered him to become a god and rule with him, but Perseus humbly said no. Perseus, Andromeda, and his mother went back to Argos. The people wanted him to be king, but Perseus was so guilty for accidentally killing his grandfather that he decided to trade kingdoms with another very friendly king. Happy now, he and Andromeda lived for many years in their new kingdom, and eventually Perseus died, but his father Zeus immortalized him in the stars as the constellation Perseus.